Hi, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Lauren Kay Wyatt. I'm the founder of Love Renegades. And today we are going to go into a little more depth about the law of satisfaction and what it means to break the law of satisfaction. And to help me do that, I have with me a very special guest named Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right, I'm going to do my best and read Jennifer's amazing bio. Jennifer Murphy is at her very soul an adventurer. This has led her to explore many areas in life, professionally and personally. She and her 12-year-old soccer playing son are often found packing up the car and hitting the road for a trip, a weekend away, or a day exploration. Professionally, she has spent time as an officer in the United States Army, a leader in corporate America, an entrepreneur several times over, teacher, and an artist. Personally, she has been married and divorced twice, owns several Labradors and a cat, moved 32 times, lived in 3 different countries, 7 different states, and many, many types of homes. Spiritually, she has traversed the spectrum from a metaphysical upbringing to converting to Catholicism and back again, where today she serves as a Reiki master, spiritual healer, and ordained minister. She is a healthy living advocate, kombucha brewer, and a strong supporter of legal cannabis. In addition to personal and executive coaching with individuals, she is currently working as an adjunct professor at a college and university, working as a contract consultant and trainer, and pursuing a doctorate of executive leadership at the University of Charleston, where she's researching leadership in the legal cannabis industry. She lives in Cedar Rapids, Iowa with her son and her partner in all things Craig. Jennifer, I really loved reading your bio twice and getting to break the law of perfection with that. Very, very
Yes.
cool. You are so impressive.
Oh, thanks.
And
It's always weird to hear. It's always weird to hear your own bio because I write that stuff up, and then later when I hear someone else read it, it's like, wow, she's super kick-ass. Like, where did that come from?
You are super kick-ass, and that's about the law of satisfaction. The law of satisfaction is people who are affected by this are people who, in their own way, they're like Jennifer, because no one's really like Jennifer. We're all unique. But people who have the law of satisfaction as a primary law of love that they need to break, these people are achievers, they're accomplishers, they're doers, and like they're the type of people that were like, if I have enough willpower, it's happening, and it's happening like yesterday. And they can get locked in this pattern because it's like, I've done all of these things, and now what? And when the law of satisfaction comes up, it's an opportunity to really open your heart and be vulnerable and take risks. So Jennifer is going to share a bit about her own experience with the law of satisfaction, and I'm going to ask her some questions to support her in doing that.
Okay.
So Jennifer, could you tell us a bit about what your romantic life was like and what your professional life was like before you became a love renegade? That means before you started.
Yeah. Well, I think on the love life side of things, I felt like I was pretty happy to begin with. But I also knew in those moments of true honesty that it wasn't as good as it could be. I had done a lot of soul searching some years before about what I wanted in a partnership. When you've had, 2 failed marriages and like 5 or 6 failed engagements, you tend to start asking yourself, like, what the hell? So I, excuse me, had gone through that process of trying to figure out what am I really looking for in a relationship? What have I been looking for and not found all these times? And so I had a really pretty clear idea, not really of what I needed him to be, but what I needed to be in a relationship. And what I was looking for was independence, autonomy, but support at the same time, and mutual respect and love, basically. And I didn't think that should be too much to ask, quite frankly. And so when I met my current partner, Craig, we were just talking about this last night, actually. We met each other in September of 2012, and then we didn't actually start seeing each other even loosely until after my divorce in 2013. And we were talking about our anniversary because we don't have one. We've never celebrated one. We don't even have a date. And so yesterday on LinkedIn, the date popped up, that the day we became linked on LinkedIn. And I was like, well, maybe that's our anniversary, February 25th, And
That's awesome.
Like, no, that's a dumb date. Like, it needs to be sometime in the summer when it's warm. I was like, all right, well, you pick the date then. So we, and it's just been, so when we got together, we were both very focused on the same values, quite frankly, which I was very surprised. At the same time, he was dealing with some pain from his marriage ending and being a single parent. And he had his own stuff going on that he was pretty forthcoming with, like, I'm a mess, like, just so I don't even know why you want to be around me, and, but I wanted to be around him. And so, fast forward, our relationship just matured and it grew, and our respect for each other grew. And it was probably 3 years until we said, I love you for the first time, for example. The slowest moving relationship I've ever been in. I'm like 3 hours into a date, I love you and want to bury your children. That's how impulsive I can be. And so for me, like, I knew this was different when we moved at that pace, and I didn't feel threatened by it. I knew I was different in the relationship. So fast forward, and we're together and things are going great. And we decided to move in together. So we did. We moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with he and I, and then my son, who I have probably 75% of the time. And we were doing that so we could save money to eventually buy a house. Life decisions were made. That process lasted a lot longer than either of us ever intended. And to compound things, in April of last year, his 17-year-old son moved back in with us. And so now we have a teenager, a preteen, and 2 adults living in one space. And that was kind of a catalyst for any issues that were hidden in dark corners to start to bubble to the surface. And it wasn't his son's fault. It wasn't my son's fault. It wasn't anything. It was just the perfect storm of circumstance. And so we, at the same time, he took on a really heavy workload at school. I started pursuing a doctorate, and our lives started to exist in parallel versus autonomy. And we were not really connecting the way that we had. It was even to the point where we were living in separate bedrooms just because of the space and the boys and the kids. And so, I was, resentment's building inside of me. I'm like, what is happening? I don't want to live like this. This is nowhere in my dream of things that I want to live like this. And he, on the surface, appears okay with it, but I know he's not. But he's trying to put on a strong front. I'm trying to put on a strong front. And underneath it all, we're both seething with resentment at our situation. And so we, and that was around the time I started working with you. And that was at the point where I was like, I have this person in my life that I love, like truly love and respect and have partnership with, who I'm in this situation with that is testing everything about that. And so that was that was where I was at that point. And professionally, because all things are connected, that energy was seething in to my business. I was at a low point in my business. I was not seeing very many clients. I hadn't started the contract work. I was just doing adjunct work at the time. And I was really starting to question, like, do I even want to keep doing this? Do I still want to coach? Like, has it expired? Am I done with it? Has the cycle gone through? And around that time too, there was a whole lot of, I was coming to terms with listening to other people's advice. Like, this is how you have to do things in order to be successful, which is so not my way anyway. But I'm also a big fan of learning. And so I feel like if people have knowledge to share, I want to take a peek at it. And so, but what I kept encountering were personalities that were not, here's knowledge, let's expand it. It was, here's knowledge, it's absolute, and you're a dumbass if you don't listen to me. And I can't do that. Like, that is not how I operate. It's not my frame of mind at all. And I had gotten involved in a couple of different organizations or subscriptions or groups, and I just started getting rid of them. It was around that time that you and I started working together that I just was cutting the cord on those things because they were not serving me. My money was serving them, but we were not it wasn't in reciprocal value for me. So that's where we were when I started.
Wow. Yeah, I remember connecting with you during that time and just listening to everything that you're saying. I'm just like, yeah, Jennifer, you are, with how accomplished you are, you're also like pretty modest about it and low key. And you do hold a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom yourself. And these groups I think that they helped you connect with your wisdom, just maybe not in like the way that you wanted to.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that, because I do believe that you grow from every experience. And sometimes it takes, burying yourself in the mud of what you don't want to figure out that, that was kind of cleansing. You had a cleansing experience there, and now you get to move forward and take what you learned from that and do what you really want to do.
Absolutely. And that's a big part of breaking the law of satisfaction, as it is with many of the laws of love, but being able to be completely honest with yourself and to accept something about this situation is bugging me. And yeah, I get that I'm a player in this. I'm contributing to my relationship dynamic. Sure. I'm contributing to my lack of satisfaction at my job. But that honesty and that willingness to say, I need to connect with my heart and do something differently. So you got to sign up with me, which leads me into this next question, and bringing up the themes of the law of satisfaction, these issues of fear of the next big step, or a fear of vulnerability, a fear attached to like who you were, and this fear of, oh my God, if I do this, like this is just going to throw a monkey wrench into everything that I've worked so hard for. How do you think that, or how do you feel, think, or see how that played out in your life during the program, before the program, all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, and I think there was a couple of big things that showed up. One of them I remembered when I was thinking about this call, and one just came to mind right now. But the first was that I was going against my own creed, and I was settling, and I was allowing circumstance to be in charge instead of recognizing that I'm still in charge. When you approached me about this program and you sent me the information, you said, this is what, we're going to talk about as we go through these different laws. I was just like, that fits. That fits with where I am right now, and it fits with what I'm developing. So I owe it to myself to investigate this further. So that's a little bit on that. So, relating that to where I got myself last year, I was just like, this is nowhere on the spectrum of not settling. This is everything settling. We are settling for a home that doesn't suit us. I had my office was in the living room, like right next to where my son played Fortnite 24/7. And so I was just like, this is settling, and part of that, it's amazing to me how easy we brainwash ourselves sometimes, because part of that, I kept justifying to myself, well, this is where we are financially. We can't afford anymore. We can't afford the house that we really want. So why try? That we had all these camps kind of piling up when we would talk. And every time we would have those conversations, I would walk away less than satisfied. Like, this is not good enough. This is not where we are. And so I had a huge, internal conflict going on with, I love this person. I love being with this person. I love what we're doing outside of this. I can't tolerate our living situation. And, and that was impacting work, and it was impacting our relationship, even my relationship with my son. Every morning he would be like, Mom, why are we living in this small place? Like, we're on top of each other. He would ask, and he's like, you clearly don't like it. What are we doing? And he was on me. So he wasn't happy. I also knew my partner nor his son were happy with our arrangement. And so, we have these 4 unhappy people, cohabitating in an 800 square foot apartment. You're like, it's a lot of bad energy, right? A ton of bad energy. So, the other thing that, I was just, thinking about as you were talking was, the other thing that was keeping me stuck a little bit was I was very afraid of quitting when it came to my job. And I don't know if you remember our conversations around that, but I was very afraid of, like, if I walk away, am I a failure? If I stop what I'm doing right now, am I a failure? If I take on more teaching jobs, does that mean I'm a failure as a coach? And I was having that kind of internal conflict as well. I was like, I love what I do. I love teaching, and I get so much opportunity to coach and mentor, kids and adults and people older than me in this process. But am I failing if I'm not out there hustling to get one-on-one clients and do groups and offer these classes? And I was having those arguments in my head. And so that argument was, creating a decision in and of itself, and that decision of inaction. And so thereby being satisfied with whatever I got. And it was so uncomfortable and slimy to me. Like, that's the only word I can use that seems to fit, is it just felt slimy, because it wasn't who I am or who I wanted to be.
That's what happens with the law of satisfaction. Is it's like there's this, I think slimy is the perfect word. It's like you're trying to sell yourself on something that should be okay, that's not okay.
Yeah,
and
that's absolutely,
like, that is like a really great descriptor of it. And then we get caught up in our image as well, like, and that can paralyze us from really like letting this new level of who we are shine through. So with that, I want to ask you, what was the catalyst for you to break the law of satisfaction?
Well, I was working with this coach, and she advised me to have a really honest conversation. We had a conversation, and you advised me, and you need to have an honest conversation with your partner and figure out what's the plan. Like, this can't last forever, this living situation. So what's the plan? And so we did. I approached him and was just like, we need to have a straight talk. What's going on? What are we doing? Where are we going right now? Because this living situation just can't go on. And he, at that point, really reacted in fear, you know, and it opened up a lot of things for him that are his things, and I'm not going to get into. But at one point during the conversation, we broke up. We were not going to be together anymore. And we came back from that because I, you know, as I'm kind of, you know, processing that, I'm just like, no, you know, bullshit. Right? I'm throwing it down. This is not what we're doing right now. We're not breaking up. That's not our path. And so, re-engaged, and we were able to come to an agreement that we were going to pursue buying a home. One of both of our big things was we had
I don't want to.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I totally meant to.
I know.
I want to just talk a minute about how courageous you were, because you were just at this catalyst point, and I'm settling. This is out of integrity with who I am. Like, this isn't working. And then you get this invitation from me to have an honest conversation with your partner. So you, Jennifer, you wouldn't do anything that wasn't right for you.
Right.
And you may have had like some fear around it, but you were courageous. You had that conversation, and what I want to talk about is how all hell totally broke loose. Like, everything that you were afraid of happening totally happened, even if it happened for like 5 minutes or 1 hour. It happened. And this is what keeps people so stuck in setting this new boundary and having an honest conversation and communicating their own needs, because they are so afraid of the fallout.
Between my partner and I, we had that conversation. All of that stuff erupted, but it was days before we were back to okay, where there wasn't that tenderness of, we were just super vulnerable with each other, that tenderness that exists after those kinds of emotional exchanges.
Like,
and
really
so,
raw.
Yeah, just really raw. And so what I did, though, again, at your suggestion, was I scheduled us a night away. And so we took a night away. We went to a hotel. We just connected with just the two of us without, dishes needing to be done and laundry piling up and, just the normal distractions of home, let alone, a teenager in the back room and an 11-year-old on the couch. Like, so we were able to we went out to dinner, and then we, took a night away and just reconnected ourselves so that we could, kind of get back to a place of feeling confident in each other and not feeling like the walking wounded after this exchange.
Yeah. So when you had this conversation with him, and I'm really glad that you brought up, like, it wasn't just us like going through this tough time and then you suggesting something to me and I did that and everything was like perfect. Like, you've been preparing your entire life for that moment, or for any moment. And with the law of satisfaction, people are really smart about, like, for themselves, it not usually seeing what the healing opportunity is. And this new level of going into this conflict with someone who you had like that really high tension situation with, in the living situation, you also love, who you had resentment toward, and other things, to go into that conversation in the way that you did was so masterful, even if it seemed really messy. And it also gave him space to have whatever response he was going to have. And there was trust there. And yes, like, hurt yes, some wounds got re-triggered, but you two really came together and you had that. So anyway, I'm just amazed at what happened after that. If you could.
So, you know, I just started immediately. I was like, we're going to apply for a mortgage. I had already tried to apply for a mortgage, and been rejected based on my income, which is one of the tough parts in self-employment and just the weird financial year I've had. But either way, I said, what my mortgage lender said was, if you can get him to co-sign, you guys, I'm almost positive that you can get approved. Like, I feel like your chances are a lot better. So no guarantees, no promises. They can't do that. But so we went online, filled in his information. It was from the time that we got approved to the time that we had an accepted offer was less than a week. So 30 days closed. We signed.
Jennifer, I am just so thrilled to hear about all of this. And I want to ask you, what advice do you have for somebody who's struggling with the law of satisfaction and breaking the law of satisfaction?
I mean, I think for me, what I had to do was confront what is really going on in my life, and whether what I'm doing is some sort of settling or half measure or downsizing of my desires, you know, shrinking my soul's purpose in some way. And I think that we know when we're doing that, but we consciously ignore it. And so unconsciously, those desires are still bubbling to the surface. And quite frankly, I find it stressful. Like, I just do. It's very stressful to not pay attention to what you really want most. And so pay attention to those stressors, because they're trying to tell you that something's not right and you need to take action. Like mine was, I think, you know, the action can be scary, but the other thing is that having someone by your side, you know, to help you through it makes a huge difference, to be able to, you know, prepare for the discussion and celebrate the outcome of the discussion, you know, however it goes, quite frankly. But know that settling is not the key to happiness. It's just not.
Yes, it is not.
So, and it kind of boggles my mind when I catch myself settling at times. And it really blows my mind when I watch people who are perfectly capable of not settling continue to settle. So I do make it my personal mission to help spread the word of not settling and to encourage people to live big. And I call it living dangerously, because I think that feels dangerous to a lot of people, you know, to step out of that thing that it may feel comfortable and safe and warm because it's familiar, but it doesn't mean it's good for you. You know, I had someone tell me one time, you know, it's my shit. It's safe and warm and, you know, cozy, but it's still shit. And so I don't want to be sitting in it. And I was like, yes, great and crude, but accurate, you know? So don't sit in your shit. There's no need
Don't
for that.
sit in your shit.
Yeah. So again, rather crude, I know, but it's, you know, it's tempting to stay there. And I think you'll find that outside of that comfort zone is actually more comfortable. So it's been my experience anyway.
Jennifer, I love it. Can you please tell anyone who's listening how they could connect with you more, possibly receive some coaching from you?
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with me or get a hold of me is to go out to my website. It's actually a new website, but it's www.nolimitslifeinstitute.com.
That is so, so cool. I love it. Jennifer, any last words for anyone listening before we depart?
You know, I think that life is short. We get this one chance in this incarnation, so don't settle. Just keep living big, keep dreaming big.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for spending time
Yeah,
with me today and having this conversation.
absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
And to you at home, thank you for spending time with Jennifer and me today. I'm Lauren Kay Wyatt. I'm the founder of Love Renegades. You can find me at loverenegades.com. Thank you.